We'll be accepting in back. If you want to open a bank account, we'll be right back there. Anyways, again, we are very excited to be the host for next year's conference, and we have a world-class, I like to use that word, but our training center is recognized as an award-winning training center. We train over 3,000 cab drivers on an annual basis, either through new licensing or refresher course. We also train our limousine drivers. We've developed a number of courses, and we are marketing them, and we do look forward to seeing you there. And as I said, it'll be a shuttle series, so across the lake. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. We're very, very excited. And if you couldn't help but notice that they're using our president to market their country. Which leads me to my next point, is that the next conference that we've scheduled for 2012 is going to be with Commissioner Leon Swain and Washington, D.C., which, talking about the president, if you haven't been following it, that is going to be right in the middle of the presidential election, so it should be an exciting time to be in D.C., I guess. But before we move too forward into the future, let's talk about today for 1 second. Chicago has exceeded every expectation for me personally, and I think for almost everybody here. And I just want to take a moment to recognize and thank my good friend, Commissioner Norma Reyes. And let's give her a round of applause. She and her staff have done a tremendous, tremendous job. Tremendous job. And thank you, Norma. Thank you from all of us. So now I think we're going to go to why we're all here today, day 2. I'm going to give a little presentation now, which is going to talk about a survey that we did, and also kind of outline how we're going to structure the program today. What's very, very important is that we want to get all perspectives to be heard, and we like to encourage as much audience participation as possible. This is a topic that there are very strong opinions on, one way or the other. It's very complicated. I don't know if there are any right or wrong answers. There are just many opinions on it. But certainly it is a topic that's defined the regulation of taxis and for-hire grant transportation since we've been regulating. Studies have been written on it. Scholars have debated it. Municipalities have basically decided to do it and not to do it in very concrete ways. And it's had an impact, whether positive or negative, in some people's viewpoints on the industry. I'll start by talking a little bit about what I've been doing. For those of you who don't know, I'm now officially in academia, sort of. I am a distinguished lecturer at the City University of New York City College. I'm affiliated with the University Transportation Research Center. For those of you who don't know what that is, there are 10 regions where there are competitive methods by which universities try to be designated by the United States Department of Transportation to oversee a consortium of universities to carry out the studies for that region, transportation planning. The region that I belong to, Dr. Kamga and Buzz Paswell, who many of you may recognize his name. Buzz, who is the interim president of City College, is the founder and longtime director, and he's returned to UTRC. Buzz used to run the Chicago transit system before he came to New York. Great gentleman, unbelievable professor, and has done a lot with the Transportation Center in terms of holding symposia, engaging in scholarly debate, and also being the first UTRC in the country to finally recognize the taxi mode by hiring me. It's never been done before. I'm the first taxi expert to join. And I'm hoping that these regional centers start doing more of that, hiring folks that are committing their academic pursuits to taxis and the for-hire mode, because like Rodney Dangerfield says, we get no respect. And that's got to change. That's why I made this move, where I made this jump. And we oversee several universities, 12 universities and their research endeavors, including Columbia University, Rutgers, Polytechnic. So, it's a very interesting concept. A lot of people don't know about it. As we heard the other day from our good friends, the TLPA consultant and the TLPA, it's amazing what the federal government and state governments do when it comes to transportation, and that the average folks don't know about it. They don't know how to apply, and that taxi regulators certainly know very little about how that whole process works. So it's our hope to educate and bring that relationship, and my continuing relationship with the ITR, to benefit from that, and also the taxi network. But the UTRC has 10 regions. Our region is New York, New Jersey, and the Virgin Islands. I'm also doing a little law on the side. I'm practicing transportation law, and I'm also a commissioner of the Civil Service Commission in New York City, so I've stayed involved. I also want to recognize and thank my successor, David Yaski, the new commissioner for New York City. David, where are you? Did he disappear? See, I used to do that. Now I'm hanging around. I can't think of a better person to take over the job. I wish him good luck. It's been a long time, and I just got a subtle reminder yesterday. I got the limousine industry is upset with me for ITR standing up for Jim in Philadelphia. And I said, I thought I left government so people will stop attacking me and leave me alone. But nevertheless, the industry is very upset, and there may be another contract out in my life. But anyway, so this is a great organization. I'm still involved somewhat, but I'm also very committed, and I've agreed to stay involved with ITR and help it for another year and try to get a strategic plan to make this organization grow even further than it has been. So 16 years in government. I said goodbye. 14 years at the TLC. Now it's time to spread the knowledge around the world, and I'm very, very proud of that and look forward to working with everybody. Let me give you just an overview about what we're going to do today. And I'll preface it by saying that this is a great time to talk about this topic because every city now is cash-strapped to some extent. Some states and cities more than others, and they're looking at forms of raising new revenue. So for the first time, there's a lot of thought going into this. And also, there's been a trend towards prices going up over the last 10 years when it comes to permit values and medallion values. So at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, tourism and hospitality and cities have begun to really take a look at their taxi industries to improve them. So I think the timing is really right for this topic to be discussed, because there is some sort of correlation between good taxi service, cash flow, and a healthy industry, and a city looking to promote itself from a tourism standpoint to attract people to the city, and also cities looking to, quote-unquote, raise revenue through this system. Whether you agree with that or not, it's a reality. So that's kind of why we picked this topic, because it is very timely, and a lot of cities are looking at the possibility of medallion sales. On the other hand, there are some cities that believe that they've had bad experiences and are deregulating. I thought I saw the end of deregulation, but some that you'll hear from today have actually deregulated in a very different way. Instead of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, they've actually put higher safety standards in place. We're going to talk about Ireland. Kathleen's here to talk about that. But the first goal and objective, this is good. When I first started, I'm teaching a course in sustainable transportation, and the first thing I was reminded of, because I haven't taught in many years, is that you have to tell the students not only what they have to read, but their goals and expectations, and how you're going to grade them. And believe me, there's more questions about that than there is about the subject matter. The first goal and objective, if we leave here and look at this as an educational exercise, is to understand the taxi permit system and the approaches in using these permit systems. And hybrid has nothing to do with green. It has to do with just a word I made up to describe a different category. A closed system, you know it when you see it, but in essence that means you're capping the number of people who are allowed entry into the system, and may or may not actually have folks who can transfer those medallions. An open system, it's an open entry, meaning that anyone can come in as long as they meet certain licensing criteria. And hybrid, I think, what I mean by that is different approaches. Franchising companies, concession arrangements, they don't fit into a neatly defined category. They could be viewed as, in some instances, closed, in some instances, not so closed. They're closed but could be opened. So we kind of structured the day in terms of exploring those three different concepts. We are going to identify the key ingredients or factors of an ideal taxi system, the utopian cab system. We're going to talk about, I think, what everybody's perspective is on what a good, safe industry with good customer services, and explore the relationship between those key ingredients and medallion prices and this type of system that people have decided to undertake. Last is the debate whether the ideal taxi system can best be achieved through a closed, open, or a hybrid system. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I encourage everybody, by the way, to to ask a lot of questions, because I think this could be a really good, productive debate throughout the entire day. We're going to start off by having some ITR survey results and identification of the key ingredients of the ideal system, and then session 5, we're going to focus first on closed systems and medallion permit auctions. We're going to talk about San Francisco and Australia. We're also going to be fitting in Victor Dizengoff from the TLPA, who's going to talk a little bit about closed systems as well, giving the industry's perspective. Session 6, we're going to talk about open systems and deregulation. Can't think of a better example than Kathleen in Ireland and what's gone over there. And as skeptical as I was about it, when I was in Portugal listening to her presentation, I was floored by it. And you're going to get the same presentation, and it's going to be even better, I'm sure. But she really made a compelling argument that there's another alternative approach, because a lot of people do have the opinion that deregulation is not the way to go. It's failed in the past, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy hearing from her. And last, the hybrid systems, the franchises. We have our new members, our folks, the Sultan and his staff from Abu Dhabi, and we also have Thousand Palms, California. I think it's important. We have Naomi and Michael here, and I think it's important for us to understand that medallion systems are not just big city things. We were talking, Dr. Mundy and Mark Cohen and I were talking about there is a movement in Brookline, Massachusetts to do something. There are other little smaller cities that are looking to do what big cities have done. Thousand Palms, I think, is a good example of taking an alternative approach to the medallion system. But beware, there may be small townships and cities that get these ideas, and they may be on the outskirts of big cities and may pose some political issues, I'm sure. But that's something that we should be talking about, because I think that trend is a real good possibility that it might continue. And the last session, which will I'll try to keep the gloves on for that one. We're going to have a debate. We've had a debate in the past. We had it with respect to partitions, I believe, in security cameras last year, and that went over very, very well. So we're going to have a debate of those who believe that a closed system is better versus an open system, and hopefully that debate will result in some type of better understanding for all of you. If you leave here with a better understanding, some more knowledge, and maybe either a more confirmed opinion in what you believed in when you came out of here, or maybe a different opinion, then we've accomplished our goals for the day. Let's talk a little bit about the different systems. These are I think I covered this a little bit, but we have medallions. There may be a fixed number, often with value, and they're transferable on the open market. New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, Boston, Miami, Seattle, a couple of examples in particular. This is a good place to be in Chicago. Norma has informed me that I think when she took over, it was about $40,000 per medallion, and now it's close. It peaked at $200,000 at one point. When I took over the TLC, I think it was about $200,000, and when I left, I think there was a sale or two for close to $700, but now it's down to about $600. It's amazing what has happened over the last couple of years, and I think every city has had that trend, even though there's been some dips with the recession. Permits. You'll hear this concept over and over. What's a medallion? What's a permit? Different jurisdictions define them differently. There may be a fixed number and periodic renewal with significant fees, and some rights may be associated with them, property or licensing. Franchises, government-designated or authorized providers of taxi service, usually taxi companies when you hear of franchises. Dr. Mundy talked about what goes on at airports. There are also some cities who have similar approaches. May involve the issuance of a request for proposals and contract or other rights. A couple of examples of folks who have franchise scenarios are Los Angeles, Nashville, and Thousand Palms.